Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Super Anime Bros podcast. As always, I'm your host, Rosario, joined by my brother, Angelo. And today, we're going to talk about something we love.
Hello, everybody. Thank you all for being here. So today, we're going to continue our top 50 favorite anime countdown. And we are at number 40, and we're going to go to number 31, so the next 10 on the list here.
Yes, indeed. At the end, we'll pick out one of these shows again, and then next week, we'll do a deep dive of it. And we'll go from there. Angela, I think you started off last time, so it looks like it's my turn to begin, huh?
All right, let's get right into it.
All right, so at number 40, I have Oshinoko. I know this is one of your favorites.
Yes, it is.
Something that you got me to watch, I guess last year did it come out?
Mm-hmm.
And now season 2 is airing as we speak. It's been a pretty interesting show. It's written by the same author as Kaguya-sama Love is War, which is one of my favorites. We'll see that way down the list, not to spoil anything.
Yeah, no spoilers.
And then I believe maybe the artist is somebody different. It's two people that do it, so it's pretty interesting. But and I'll say this for some other shows, I don't think I can do it as much justice as you. Obviously, you like it more than I do. But I think that something about this show that I find interesting is that it shows some of the darker sides of fame in Japan and probably also in the world. But a little bit in terms of like being an idol, and then now we've kind of moved on to more so acting,
Yes.
and some of the things that go on behind the scenes, and I find that pretty interesting. There's definitely some romance involved. I like that. It's a pretty solid show. It really is. There's some like reincarnation that you'll see pretty early on, which is an interesting concept to have in there. So I think it's got a lot of different pieces that I find pretty cool. Brings them together in a cool way. So I'm excited to see what happens from here. We're just starting out season 2. I know you've read or you're caught up with the manga, right?
Yeah, I am.
Yeah, pretty cool. So I know that there's a lot down the road, and I'm excited to continue taking this path. We'll probably climb higher and higher as we watch more and more, but for now I got it at number 40.
All right. So my number 40 is Kaiju number 8.
Oh, yeah, let's go.
Just finished airing, but the two of us still haven't watched the last episode yet. So who knows what's going to happen.
Who's to say?
But I'm definitely very excited to see how that ends. The second to last episode ended pretty crazily. So.
Without a doubt, yeah.
So we'll see what happens here with Kafka.
Yeah.
But I don't want to talk about the show too much because if you've watched any of our past videos, we've already gone on and on about it.
Yeah.
Especially you talking about, it's great. It's a good show. It's on the list for a reason.
That's a fact.
It's on the list for a reason. But it's a fantastic show. Definitely would recommend watching it. And yeah, just excited to see how this season ends and awaiting the next season then.
Yeah, without a doubt. I think season 2 is confirmed.
Oh,
could be wrong. I don't know. It's a popular show.
Yeah,
in
I think it's
manga,
been
so
doing well, right?
Yeah.
So I don't see any reason why it wouldn't get a second season soon.
Alrighty, on to number 39. I have MF Ghost, which is the sequel to Initial D. It's a racing story, much like Initial D is, set in the future. I think it's a really fun concept with. Is it like all electric cars in the future or something along those lines?
Yeah, that's what it's supposed to be.
Okay. And then there's a race that many people watch online of these like older, well, not I guess necessarily older. I don't know, more
surviving gas cars that people still.
So it's really really cool. We've got an interesting main character who's half English, half Japanese. I remember when we first watched this, we put it on in the English dub. And the guy had a British accent and like really threw us off. And so we watched it in Japanese, and we haven't gone back.
I guess it would make sense for him to
have. Without a doubt it would. It was just weird. I don't know.
But it's weird to hear, just a British person speaking normal like English in the Japanese racing show. Like I'm expecting it to be either like an American accent because we're watching a dub, or just watching it like in just normal Japanese.
Yeah, I don't know. That really
we switched back to the Japanese.
Threw us off. It was funny. But there's a lot of fun races in this show. The main guy drives a successor to the 8.6 that was driven in the original show Initial D, so I think that's pretty cool. Wears number 86 on his car, which is fun. They give us some cool characters along the way, some of the other drivers, some people to root for, some people to maybe root against, which is always good. Plants the seeds of a little bit of romance, which I think will be interesting to follow as we go. Though if Initial D has anything to say about it, it's never going to end well.
Drivers don't need girlfriends, man.
Yeah, well, the lonely drivers, huh? But no, I've really enjoyed it so far. It's just been one season. The last note I have on it is not much happens, which isn't necessarily true. We do get to see a lot, but in terms of the central plot and the specific races that this whole show revolves around, we get to see one race and then part of qualifying for the next race, and that's it. It cuts off, and it's like, okay, see you in season 2, which has been confirmed, and I don't know if it's coming later this year or next year. Definitely excited to see more, but that's what I got at number 39. Once again, I think this is something that as we see more and more of, it will definitely go higher on the list. But for now, yeah, 39.
All right, moving on to my number 39, I have Dragon Ball. Not Dragon Ball Z, not Dragon Ball Super, Dragon Ball.
What?
Yeah, I know, old school Dragon Ball. Which, my first note here was underrated, and I definitely, looking ahead, I definitely think I underrated it. It's definitely better than some of these other shows we're going to talk about.
All right.
And everybody knows Dragon Ball. If you're watching an Anime Cup podcast, you've heard of Dragon Ball. So this is definitely a show that I feel like not a lot of people watch because everybody just watches Z.
Yeah.
But I really, really argue that you miss so much by skipping original Dragon Ball. There's a lot of different elements. It's definitely more comedy than Z.
Yeah.
Definitely goofier. Goku's always running around naked for some reason as a little kid. But
menace.
I don't know, it's kind of funny.
Yeah.
But you also see a lot of the side characters get some development that you don't see in Z, like Tien, Roshi, even like Yamcha, or even just Goku as a kid, seeing how he became the way he is, what made him
for sure
who he is, getting to see how he meets Chi-Chi. All these different things happen in Dragon Ball that you miss when you skip right to Z.
Yeah, I mean, but dude, by Super, some of those people are barely even in the show at all. So
yeah, I guess that's
interesting.
But if you're gonna
I get that.
understand
the whole
it's
story, part of the story, yeah, for sure.
Because those people are in Z a lot more. I mean, obviously, I told you I didn't finish Z, but the Z fighters are all in original Dragon Ball. And you kind of get to learn where they came from. Yeah. And it's kind of cool, too, to see them be on par with Goku.
Yeah.
Like, not spoiling anything, in like the first 5 episodes, Goku and Yamcha fight, and they're like evenly matched.
I mean, dude, obviously there was no such thing as a Super Saiyan back then, so yeah.
They were just he was just some weird kid with a tail.
Yeah, that's great.
So I definitely think it's worth a watch. I would highly recommend.
Interesting. I don't know that I'll be taking you up on that, but hopefully our listeners will.
I guess it is long. It's like 100 and maybe like 30 eps, but compared to like Z, it's not that long.
Gotcha. Very interesting. Moving on now to my number 38. I have High School DxD ranked here. Another show. Yeah, laugh it up. Another show that you asked me to watch, and we gave a shot.
They don't need to know that.
Well, they do now. It's gonna be evident by where it's placed on your list versus mine. It was a pretty interesting show. I titled it "Fan Service the Show." A whole lot of that, necessary, unnecessary. Who's to say? Our main character really just likes boobs, so there's a lot of that sort of humor involved in the show. But with that, some of the plot definitely takes interesting turns. The concept of angels, devils, and everything in between is pretty cool. It's a super funny show. It really is. Like it makes me laugh a lot more than most. And I think that a lot of that has to do with the liberties they took with the dub. I think that sometimes comedy can be lost in translation a little bit. Not always, but sometimes. And I think that they did a great job in making it very creative and very comical, which I really enjoyed. We've met some of the voice actors and actresses from the show, and they talk about how they try to be creative with it, and I think that really shows through. And some of that, but at the end of the day, it's just the boob show. But it was pretty good for being just the boob show.
That's fine. I'll take that. I'm not gonna argue with you there.
All right.
So moving on to my 38, I have Snow White with the Red Hair, which is a good romance. It only got 2 seasons, but I know the manga goes way ahead. It's something that I haven't got around to yet. But this was one of the very first romances I watched, so it does hold a special place in my
takes me
heart.
way back when you were watching this.
Yeah, I know we watched like a few episodes together, but we just never finished it together. I watched the first 2 seasons.
It happens.
But I think it's a great show, and it has a great cast of characters. Some funny ones and some that are very serious and some that are super cool. And because it takes place during like, I guess I want to say like medieval times because there's like princes and knights and stuff.
Yeah.
I guess similar to that.
Kinda
Like there's no
high fantasy. Era.
Yeah, kind of like that. But there's no like crazy fantasy elements. There's no magic or anything.
Yeah.
But it's very cool, and it's kind of cool. It's another one of those shows where the main love interest, the guy, is not a dense idiot.
Yeah, that's always good.
Prince Zen.
Yeah.
He's super cool, and it's kind of nice to see that. It's very romantic. It's kind of like if you watch like any like American movies that are romantic like that.
I get you there.
But it'd be cool if it came back. It's probably not going to, but
yeah.
That's where I'll end it.
I gotcha.
But worth watch, nonetheless.
Alrighty. Moving on to my number 37. I have ReZero here. This is a show that's going to be getting a long-awaited season 3 upcoming. I think in the fall, maybe in the winter. I'm not positive. Excuse me. I don't really love isekai. Maybe I'm missing out, to be honest. It's just not a genre that I dabble with all that much. But for being an isekai, I think this is a really, really fun show. I think it's written very well. Has a ton of twists and turns. Like, you just never know what's going to happen next. Obviously being an isekai, it's about a guy who's starting a life in a new world through death, kind of, maybe. We don't really know, at least as far as I am. To make it clear, I'm in the middle of season 2, so I haven't even caught completely up with where the anime is. But I've really enjoyed it. My buddy Ant got me to watch it. It's got a lot of fun, like power scaling and all, so that got him into it, and has been interesting to learn a little bit about as I go. Also introduced a lot of like top tier anime girls, such as the twin maids Ram and Amelia. Super cool. I feel like every convention we go to, we see at least one person wearing a Subaru jacket. The main
Yeah, and I feel
jacket.
like we see at least one Rem too.
Yeah, probably. So some fairly iconic characters in the show. I do definitely plan to catch up and become current with where everything is, hopefully, eventually here. But it certainly has been a really interesting watch. And I think if I had watched it again or finished what's out, it would be a little bit higher. But for now, I'm pretty comfortable having it at 37, though. It is a really solid show. I won't lie.
All right, so moving on here to my 37 is Tempuru, which is not a family-friendly romance.
No, sir.
Everything I said about Snow White being romantic and cool like that doesn't apply.
Yes,
The main character is dense as they come, but it's an absolutely hilarious show.
Yeah.
I think that's where it shines the most in its comedy, which I know you briefly did talk about it in the previous episode, or 2 episodes ago when you had it ranked. A young man avoiding lust decides he's going to become a monk, but the shrine that he decides he's going to be a monk at is ran by cute girls. All like, so it's tough for him to try to fight those urges while being in the scenarios that he's presented with. So, I don't have much more to say there just because we did already talk about it before, but super funny, not family friendly.
Good note there.
But very entertaining nonetheless.
Yeah. Moving on to a show I think you talked about last week, or 2 weeks ago. Am I wrong? Or right or wrong?
Yes, we did talk about it.
Interesting. So I'll keep it brief. Anyway, my number 36 is Real Life, back-to-back shows. So this is a show all about the question, would you go back and do it over again? A guy getting the chance to relive a year of high school with a magic pill that turns him back into a teenager. I think a lot of people would do that. I think we've talked a little bit about the concept of regret and many people feeling that. Maybe even when we were talking about the show, we said that. So I think that a lot of people could certainly relate to that. There's always things that you would maybe go back and do differently. Now, this isn't a complete do-over. This is a new chance, we'll say, which I think is really cool. I think that the main character positively impacts a lot of the people around him and, is obviously wiser beyond his years because he's not a teenager, though his body may look like it is. So I think that's a pretty cool concept they play around with a little bit. in him being a positive impact on others and sharing some knowledge that he's gained over the years. I also thought it was pretty funny. I think there was definitely some characters that could consistently make you laugh. So overall, I super enjoyed it. Had a pretty solid ending, and I'm happy with where it ranks on the list.
Yeah, absolutely. I definitely think it is a well-rounded show. It does have a lot of all the good elements you want to see in a show like that. So yeah, moving on here. My number 36 is Masamune-kun's Revenge.
All right.
Which I kind of made like a tagline here. It's formerly fat kid gets buff to get back at the girl who made fun of him.
How about that?
So that's what it is. He had this childhood friend as a kid, and she used to like help him, and she actually helped him like fight off bullies in the past. But one night he goes to bring her flowers, and she calls him fat and nicknames him Pig's Foot, and he spends the next 10 years, because he was a little kid then, till he gets to high school plotting his revenge, which step one is get super buff and super hot, and then he's going to get her to fall in love with him, and then he's going to reject her in the harshest way he knows how. But it doesn't always go to plan.
No,
and without spoiling anything, a lot of different things happen. He does definitely get her attention, and there's a lot of romantic elements, multiple love interests, stuff like that. Yeah. But it's pretty good. You liked it? Did we talk about it yet?
I don't think it made quite my top 50. I think it's right outside. But I did enjoy it as well. I know there was a point in... Was it at the end of the first season?
Oh, yeah, the end of the first season.
I went ahead and finished the manga.
It's just because the end of the first season is just like so rough.
Yeah,
like you gotta finish it.
Yeah, so
I did the same too. So if you're gonna watch it all at once.
Yeah, agreed.
Thankfully now it is all out because the second season came out last year.
A portion of it is just like almost infuriating.
It is. It definitely is infuriating. There's a lot of parts that are. Yeah. But thankfully, it did get a second season, because this is a show that came out many years ago. Yeah, it did. And I watched it like maybe 3 years ago.
It did come out a long time
just
ago.
Last year, it got a second season, which finished the story. So
yes, indeed.
I definitely would recommend that. I think it's got a lot of good elements of romance. Very funny, though, in the process.
Yeah, for sure.
All right.
Good stuff. All right, number 35. I have Insomniacs After School, a show that we've only seen one season of, but... if you couldn't guess, it's about insomniacs after school. So yeah, we have two main characters who have a lot of trouble falling asleep at night and end up trying to sleep through a lot of the day at school, bump into each other in I don't even know that you call it planetarium, more like an observatory. I don't know.
Yeah, I think they call it an observatory.
Yeah, something in which you would look at the stars. Anyway, this kind of leads them down a path of trying to learn about stars and photograph these beautiful starry nights. Takes them on trips all around. It's pretty interesting in that regard. But I think it was a really, really heartwarming story. I really enjoyed it a lot. It was cool to see a little bit of passion come through when it came to the perfect shot of the stars that we're trying to get. Definitely good amount of romance along the way. Maybe a little bit of a slow burn, but it certainly gets there. And I am excited for more of it. There's hopefully going to be more anime. I know there's plenty more manga. There's maybe a twinge of heartbreak potentially coming down the road, that they show some things that never look good when you see them in any show.
No.
But, who's to say what's going to happen?
Yeah,
it's not I,
It's definitely a show where I didn't let my guard down.
Yeah.
Because I could definitely sense the sadness that may or may not come. Who knows?
Yeah.
But I think it's cool. Nap Club turned into actually Astronomy Club.
Yes, this is true. This is very true. Oh, God, I wish I could have joined a Nap Club. Also, my Circle water bottle, completely out of flavor. I'm really struggling over here.
Are we sponsored?
No, we're not, but...
It is pretty good. I would recommend
I like it. The flavor, it's gone.
So. All right, moving on here. My number 35 is My Dress Up Darling, which I know we talked about 2 episodes ago when it was on your list. Sure. And I just listened back to that podcast today, and I'm like, wow, you made the show sound so cute and so great, and made it sound so deep. And I'm like, I could never describe it like that. It's cute. It's a rom-com, so I feel like I talk about rom-coms all the time. I realized today that like rom-coms are my favorite genre.
Yeah,
so
how about that?
I guess I didn't realize it today, but I was thinking about it today. So
There you go.
it's a great rom-com where a young man who makes henna dolls, who also knows how to sew, teams up with
He sure does.
a young lady who likes to cosplay but can't sew or anything like that. So he becomes her cosplay maker. He makes her cosplays and eventually he takes photos for her. But she's super cute and he like falls head over heels because how cute she is. So it's pretty funny to watch, and there's always a lot of weird situations that our main guy gets into that are kind of awkward but make it super funny.
Yeah, I would have to agree. Sorry for not describing it the way you would, but
yeah. More deep. I liked what you said. That's why I said I couldn't add
I find
much.
that quite funny.
The only other thing I want to add is hopefully we get a second season.
I hope so.
I keep saying stuff on Instagram saying, hey, we're going to get a second season announced soon, but it hasn't happened yet. So just fingers crossed it's going to happen soon because that's a great show. Would love to see it continue.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, there certainly is plenty of manga. So moving on to my number 34, I have Cafe Terrace and Its Goddesses. This is a show we talked about a couple weeks ago in looking at what was going to be coming out for this summer season. So we're currently watching the second season. But in prepping for season 2, we actually rewatched season 1. And this has since bumped up a few places on my list. I think we gave you the plot a couple weeks ago, so I'll keep it brief. But it's about a guy running a cafe with these 5 girls. They all live in a house. Hijinks ensue from there. But I think it's been fun to learn about each of the girls. All of their personalities and backstories are like maybe a little bit cookie cutter, like we've heard and seen this story before. Maybe some of them aren't quite. Maybe some of them are a little bit more original. But regardless, I've really, really enjoyed the rewatch. I think it's a pretty cute. I don't know that I would call it cute. I guess
it's like semi-family
for a
friendly.
harem show, but
I wouldn't call it a wholesome harem.
Yeah, not quite. But it's been really fun to rewatch, and I'm super excited to see where the second season takes us. It's given us a little bit more depth on some of their backstories and some of their families' backstories. So I think it'll be cool to see what we got, and maybe eventually see which girl he's gonna pick. Whoa.
All right, moving on to my number 34 is We Never Learn, which is another harem anime, another rom-com, but this one I would say is wholesome. It's very wholesome.
It's a great show.
So we didn't talk about this yet, did we?
No, this is what I have on my list.
Okay. Well, you finished the manga. So what is there? 2 seasons out of the anime. So I'm going on the 2 seasons I watched, which
for sure.
Kind of spoiler alert. We don't find out who he picks in the anime.
It's like kind of vague.
Yeah, it's vague. But it's the way it goes is I wrote a little tagline here. It's high school student has to tutor a group of girls for a college recommendation, which is a short version. But yeah, one of the girls in the group is a teacher. Kind of in the group.
Yeah.
I would say she's not part of the tutor group, but she's a potential love interest.
Maybe down the road when he's no longer a high school student, but yeah.
Yeah, okay, whatever.
Yeah.
But yeah, wholesome, very funny, and I think it's definitely great to see him teach these girls, and some romance ensues, definitely.
Yes, indeed, yeah.
Some shenanigans, a lot of funny moments, which I'm a sucker for.
I would have to agree. Yeah, I love that show. Maybe we'll talk about it again someday. Who's to say? So my number 33, continuing the trend of the harem, I have Girlfriend. This show, I did not really like at first. I was like very much so on the fence, not convinced. I'm like, this is a very stupid concept. So what if a guy asked his girlfriend if he could have a second girlfriend, and she said yes? We'll find out in Girlfriend. Wild show about a guy with 2 girlfriends, but like they all live together. It's crazy stuff. It really is. But it's been pretty fun. It's like a little bit silly, as a show with that concept would have to be, but it's funny. It's romantic, pretty cute. I like the characters a lot. The main guy, like, if anybody was going to have two girlfriends, it's going to be this guy. Like, he can handle it. He really can. He gives so much love to both
He's
of
got
them.
a lot of love.
He's got a lot of love to give. So yeah, I thank you for, having me push through and telling me to keep going with it.
It's fun.
Because it is really enjoyable. And it's another show that I think, we watch the dub and the sub for the show, but the dub takes some liberties with the comics.
Yeah, it does. A lot of the lines are very fun. I love
funny.
When dubs do that. It gives you a reason to watch the dub too.
Yes,
it's some
for
originality.
For sure.
And really another benefit to watching a dub.
So, 2 seasons into that. Hopefully there'll be more down the line, but that is my number 33.
All right, moving on to mine, which we did just talk about today, is MF Ghost.
How about that?
Which is the Initial D sequel. My
bad.
note here says Vroom Vroom.
Oh.
And it's Takumi, the main character from the original series from Initial D. His student enters a series of races and shows everyone that a super fast car isn't all that matters in a race.
Technique, baby.
That may sound familiar because it's very similar to Initial D. He's really just where you're talking me pass down the torch, and Kanata's proven the same thing to a whole new group of people.
For sure.
And like you said, not a ton happens.
No.
I didn't really think about how the pacing's so different. The one race that we see is like
it's so many episodes.
Almost half the season, but it's very different from Initial D because it's not a 2-car race.
Yes,
this is
for sure.
Like a whole circuit with what is it? I think 15 drivers.
It
so
15,
it doesn't just show Kanata, which I do like that some of the other drivers get some spotlight there, and we get to learn a lot more about
for sure.
them. Yeah. But it really carries the same spirit as Initial D. So if you're somebody who likes Initial D, I don't see any reason why you wouldn't like MF Ghost. It's just kind of like Initial D, but you're seeing modern cars and a new set of people.
Yeah. I should have said this when I was talking about it, obviously, but I'll just jump in here since we were still talking about it. I also like that he's not like the best guy out there right off the jump. Like, he's got some stuff to prove. He's got his own battles. He'll race and win during the big race, but he's not the number one guy out there. I'll say that, and that'll be pretty clear early on in the show.
Yeah,
whereas Takumi just came in and kicked butt.
The gap in the car's abilities is so different.
Yes, for sure.
Because when Takumi was driving the 86, it's a slow car, but it was the 90s. Cars weren't nearly as fast as they are. Now he's driving a car with 200 horsepower against like Lamborghinis, Ferraris that have like upwards of 700. So he definitely has a lot more to prove. There's a much bigger horsepower gap than there was in Initial D.
No, that's
so it's definitely going to be tougher for him to get to number one without changing cars.
Yeah, for sure. Alrighty, on to number 32. My number 32 is Toradora, which I've described as a true classic. Great romance show. Just I mean, I don't know how to describe it other than a classic. I definitely need to rewatch it. It's been a long time. I think it would probably rank higher should I rewatch it. Got a lot of great elements between comedy, the slow burn romance, fun concept of people trying to help each other win over their best friends. But yeah, I don't think I can do it a whole lot of justice, and I know it'll be a lot higher up on your list. So
no spoilers.
I kind of.
It might.
Who's to say? Yeah, really. But I default to you there.
Okay, that's fine. So moving on to my number 32 is Mob Psycho, which I wrote down. A middle school student fights evil spirits with a con man.
Yes.
It's a super funny concept, and I really like it most for the comedy aspect. There's a lot of action too, and going into the second season you do get a lot more developments with Mob and with Reagan, the con man he's teamed up with to fight these spirits.
For sure.
But oh my god, is that show funny.
It's so funny.
Like the end of the first season, there's a great fight with Reagan, and it is absolutely hilarious.
It is.
And surprisingly, it's a show we haven't finished yet. We still have to watch like all of season 3, but
it's pretty crazy.
Both enjoyed it so much. So
I'd
like to think we're just saving it.
I think we are.
We're saving it for
we don't
for
want
like a rainy day because Mob Psycho is great.
I agree.
We might hear more about it later.
Who's to say?
Who's to say? But
I've never looked at my list before.
It might be the highest recommendation I've had on this list, which makes sense.
Which makes sense. Yeah,
it ranks higher than all of them.
Yeah, fair enough.
But it's so good.
For sure. Alrighty, moving right along into my final show, number 31. Did you talk about this one 2 weeks ago as well?
Yes, I did.
Okay. Just want to make sure before we get into it. So my number 31 is My Love Story with Yamada-kun at level 999. So this was a show we watched maybe last year. Not sure. A fun rom-com, as many of these are for both of us, truthfully. But this show meant a lot to me, and still does. Especially like the final episode. It's one season long, at least for now. There definitely is more manga. The final episode, like, is one that I like to rewatch a lot. It has like a few great moments, but one particular moment that I just absolutely adore. But it's pretty cool about playing games online with your friends. Who doesn't love doing that? You know, and I think it's cool, like, getting to see people make friends online and then meet them in real life. You know, I think that's something that a lot of people have experienced. Not necessarily myself, but I think a lot of people can relate to that. So it's really cool. Has a really fun group of characters, from, you know, our college students to one of their little sisters to some old man. You know, like, a fun cast of characters. Definitely good to see some growth in some of them along the way. I think it was cool to see Yamada-kun's cool exterior get melted a little bit along the way in some of the romance, you know, without spoiling anything. But yeah, it's a show I really did enjoy when it came out. Ranked it pretty high, starting on my list from there. Just got to hope that it continues and has more to give us, you know?
All right.
Close us out, dog.
So, moving on, my number 31 is Mashal, Muscles and Magic, which is a show, I think the second season just finished. Mm-hmm. It's a show that I was watching with my father, and I've been waiting for him to watch the second season for like months. Yeah. So I think I'm going to have to start watching it, finish watching it by myself.
Yeah.
But what it's about, a young man, Mash, was born into a world without magic. And in that world, not having magic is a crime that will get you the death sentence.
Wow.
So
I didn't know that. I just thought it was your classic.
His guardian, he's an old man, but he found Mash as a baby and took him in, has been hiding the fact that Mash doesn't have magic for all those years. But finally he gets caught, and when the like magic police, whatever the heck they're called in this show, find him, they're like, hey, Mash, you need to go to magic school and become what's called the Divine Visionary, and they're the ones who shape the laws of the world. Oh. So he wants Mash to prove that having magic isn't all that matters and kind of turn the world upside down. Yeah. Because Mash has something way better than magic, which is muscles. Mash is shredded. One of the strongest characters I've ever seen. And he likes cream puffs. He's kind of an airhead. Mash is a great character, but he's super duper strong and he'll always protect his friends, which is something great to see. But I think it's a show that has a really good balance, which I really love to see. It has a lot of action, cool fighting, but it also has a lot of comedy. It's absolutely hilarious, and there's some elements of romance in there too. Yeah. And the second season has one of the best anime openings ever. So
I'm happy you mentioned that. I was thinking to myself as you're talking here, like, I didn't mention in any of mine how good some of these openings are, but that one needs to be mentioned.
Yeah, I think that's definitely the best out of both of our lists. It is so good, but really would recommend this show, and I think hopefully it gets more seasons to come. Yeah. And I guess I'm just going to have to watch the second season soon because I'm getting tired of waiting. Honestly.
I think it sounds like this is one you're going to have me watch here eventually, huh?
Yeah, it's definitely soon.
Yeah. Good stuff. All right, so that kind of closes out our next portion of our top 50 countdown. As promised, I think we should announce the show that we're going to do the deep dive on next week. Do you have yours in mind, Angelo? I
do. So mine, I'm going to do Dragon Ball.
All right.
I'm going to tell all of you guys when you should watch it. And
prove it to us.
Yeah, maybe I make some good points in there. Maybe I make a fool of myself. Who knows? That's what we're here for, right?
Maybe it'll be the latter. I think that would be pretty comical. But either way, I'm going to support you. And the show that I will be deep diving next week is going to be Insomniacs After School. Touched on it a little bit today, but I think that I can have a lot more to say about it, and something that I really enjoyed at the time, and maybe this will be the first time I rewatch one of the shows I'm going to talk about.
I'm definitely not going to do that because I don't have time to watch 130 episodes a week. I have a
I
career.
think that's completely fair, yeah.
So I think I'll just watch some of my favorites and maybe do some reading and really just refresh myself with all the characters and some of the plot points.
All right, dog. That sounds good to me. So yeah, that's what you guys will have to look forward to next week. Really appreciate anybody that joined us today. Always fun going down these lists. Really, really do have a good time creating the list and then obviously explaining it. So thank you all.
Thank you, guys. Bye.
Peace.